This week on Media Delta, Dick Tracy. It's a movie in which Warren Beatty is really excited just to show you how cool his dick is. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Media Delta. We are looking at an interesting film, at least in certain aspects. You see, a while ago, when we were taking a look at Sega Technical Institute games, we came across their game that is based on the 1990 Dick Tracy movie. And, well, since we played that game, we can go ahead and watch it, and that's what we did. So we were talking about the 1990 Dick Tracy movie, directed by Warren Beatty, and starring Warren Beatty. And I was not the only one who watched this. Please introduce yourselves in alphabetical order.
Hello world, I'm Norman Rafferty, and I'm here to take a bite out of crime.
I'm the portable stove, and man, this movie just has one big dumb dick in it.
I'm Torpid Typist, and I'm here to question why Madonna's in this at all.
Oh, I know why Madonna's in this.
Yeah. So yes, Dick Tracy, based on the comic from the early 30s? Yes, the 30s. Which, if you're not familiar with Dick Tracy is I would say private detective, but he's not really a private detective.
He's a police detective. He works for the Chicago PD. They don't name drop Chicago in this movie, but he works for Chicago PD.
Probably because Chicago didn't want to be associated with this movie.
Gee, I wonder why. That actually, now that I think about that, actually makes a whole lot of sense.
Bearing the lead here, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a feeling that will come out really quick. So yeah, basically, really early comic strip about a police detective dealing with organized crime in a whole bunch of, I would say stereotypical, but I don't know if that's, I mean, it is stereotypical. That's not the thing, the concept I'm going for. But basically, they have like all characteristics about themselves that are super exaggerated.
He loves beating up deformed people.
Yeah, but actually, now everyone who is evil was essentially deformed in some way, which is,
or one of them had a speech impediment.
Yes. Yes, and that, yes, Mumbles did in fact mumble.
Or one of them was just short.
Yes. So yeah, it's Dick Tracy. Like it's kind of one of those. It's like what is Dick Tracy like? Well, it's basically it's a 1930s comic, and that's your premise. You can kind of get the entire thing from there. And yeah, in the, I believe, because this was like this was a development hell thing, wasn't it? Like basically where it was it started in the early 1980s, and basically,
oh yeah, this would not have been greenlit if it wasn't for 1989's Batman.
Yeah. Which, boy, that's, this movie definitely, the more that I think about it, is very much in parallel with that movie.
What was your first clue? The British special effects team or the Danny Elfman soundtrack?
Yes. It's just the you know what? I think before we go into it, let's just actually get into the questions, because I feel we'll go more into it. So Rafferty, what are your general impressions of this movie?
You know, I hadn't seen this movie in a while, and I hadn't seen it in HD. So getting a chance to reacquaint with the movie. Also, since then, I've been like doing a deep dive on the Dick Tracy comics, because they did a big relaunch of them in the 2000s with a surprisingly professional team, like a full comic book team. It's a little weird. So, seeing the movie, maybe I'm old and soft. I don't know. I still don't think it's a good movie. In fact, what I think's annoying me about it is taking the Batman aesthetic like they did, with the production value is clearly on the screen. They've got the bold colors. Everything looks like some sort of, faux deco. Yeah, the production value is amazing. And I've, with the exception of maybe Batman, I've never seen so much production in service of so little. Like, I really think there's a good movie that wants to get out of this, but it's got that problem. It's got the same problems Batman does, where there's too much production design, and they don't seem to know how to do an action sequence. I mean, this is really weird, because this is Dick Tracy, the guy who became famous for like blazing gun battles and shooting dozens of criminals. And then when we watch this movie, like Warren Beatty gets in what, 2 fist fights and 1 gunfight?
There's only one real shootout. Yeah.
Yeah.
And much like Batman '89, the action doesn't go until the very end of the movie.
It's got things that look like action sequences but aren't. Like there's a scene where he climbs up the onto the 3rd story of a building just so he can fall off of it, and that serves no purpose. Or the really weird one, I forgot about this, the seesaw sequence where he gets trapped in a room, so he has to make another guy jump down to do a seesaw so he can get out, but all that does is just get him outside for a firefight that's completely pointless. It's like all these weird things that I guess screenwriter, maybe like you said, development hell, maybe it just like screenwriters kept writing down what they thought were good sequences and it turned into this. There's some things in this movie just really shine, like Warren Beatty when he's doing the fist fighting, he looks really good. Like that's one thing I was thinking, like, why aren't we seeing more of that? And the bad guys are actual bad guys. They actually show them committing crimes. You know, like there's a whole montage. Well, you have to wait 60 minutes for this. But there's a whole montage of woohoo! We're beating up mom and pop and stealing money out of cash registers and running racketeering. We're bad guys. And there's the movie was frustrating with me because I thought there was a lot more possibility, and some people here really knew what was going on. But in the end, it's really, there's not enough good stuff and there's too much bad stuff.
I will say, it just reminded me that I still love that this movie posits the idea of shaking people down for protection money as new and revolutionary.
Well, it's ostensibly it takes place in the 1940s, so that would be when you would actually be doing that. But I just
know
want to
it's just the way it phrases it all makes it seem like it's some sort of hot new shit.
Well, but I would take that over like when we go watch the Batman movies, where it's like, so when are these guys committing crimes? It always seems like this weird thing of the criminals in some of these other movies never seem to get around to actually doing any crime.
Oh no. I'm with you 100% on that. I'm just saying the actual crime, like the actual villainy is not interesting. Like so much.
Well, I should probably cap this by saying, while I was watching this, I kept thinking, man, I would rather be watching Miller's Crossing right now. If you guys have ever seen that.
I've not. Yes.
It's another cartoony type gangster movie, but it's done by the Coen brothers, and Sam Raimi's in it. So it's a lot like this movie, only better.
So, yeah. Do you have any other hip fire shots on this?
That's just the general impressions.
All right. Stove.
So definitely gonna be harsher on this than Rafferty is, but yeah, I did not really enjoy this movie. There was certainly a point in time when I started watching this movie this morning, and I put it on. I just kind of watched it, like, and I was like, okay, it has to be about like 2.5 hours now. I should be done with this movie soon. I look and it's been an hour 15 and there was still 30 minutes left. Just, this movie has really bad pacing. It's just, there are 2 moments in the movie where they decided to just have a straight up like the lowest point. Like, oh, Tracy has lost his girlfriend. Oh, now his girlfriend is actually lost and now he's in jail. Like, why do we need both of those exactly?
I don't know, but I will say about the pacing thing and the time. When Lolo and I were watching with some other people, we were checking the time religiously. Like, wait, is it over yet?
We had that moment. I swear, no less than 3 times.
At least 3 times.
One of them was 30 minutes into the movie.
It's a weird movie where there's too much going on, but you're still bored.
Yeah. Like I have that written down as well. I have notes actually for once. Surprising. This is the one movie I needed notes for because I figured if I didn't do it, I wouldn't remember anything. Yeah, I felt like there was a lot of talking, a lot of parts were just boring, especially if you don't really have, unfortunately, the connection to the characters. I certainly don't. I don't think I've ever read a Dick Tracy comic. It's just a lot of talking, a lot of relationship problems. And then the parts that weren't meant to be boring, like the shootouts or like the one shootout, I guess, and the like montages, it felt like there was too much going on that it just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I can interrupt here, when we watched the Batman movie, I was watching the clock during the '89 Batman movie. Batman appears in the first 5 minutes and disappears for 40. And then we're introduced to Jack Palance and Jack Nicholson and like their entire mob organization. It's like 40 minutes of just their mob organization. And so this movie has the same problem where it's like it's showing us all the mobsters and all of them are talking. And that's why I'm wondering, did they watch the Batman movie and emulate that boring 40-minute chunk because they thought that was what they were supposed to do? Because that's not what anybody liked about the Batman movie.
Also, doesn't help that Dick Tracy is the least fucking interesting character in a movie about him.
Also, I mean, it is 1990 and they got Al Pacino. They were not going to not use Al Pacino like for 95% of the movie. But I think that's more for the next question.
It's great because they get him, and I swear, I like for like half a second every time he showed up, I'm like, is he supposed to be Dick Dastardly?
He's just like he is acting in all caps. He just does not fucking stop. It's actually kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that just kind of again overshadows Tracy. But again, that's for the next question I see. But yeah, this movie just it didn't land for me. It was both too boring and too like had way too much going on for me to actually follow along with most of it.
Yeah. So I guess with that, Torpo, what are your thoughts on this movie?
I fucking hated this movie.
Uh,
To expand upon that, it was miserably. So first off, the pacing was fucking atrocious, like beyond belief. It's like they tried to fit multiple storylines in for no, but it didn't work at all. Like, because it's there is the first half, which is like one specific storyline, and there's the second half, which is like another storyline, and they don't quite flow super well. And then there's just so many little problems. Like all of the characters suck, all of them. Dick Tracy is the least interesting character in a movie named after Dick Tracy, and it's kind of impressive. Like his girlfriend is more interesting than him. Like there's these weird little things they drop about her, but then essentially she does nothing in terms of the plot and becomes a damsel in distress instead, despite being cooler than Piss Cop. Because what's Dick Tracy? He's a cop who likes to dress and piss yellow. That's it.
yes, one of
Yeah.
the six colors in this movie.
Oh my god. I'm gonna fucking tear into that when we get to that, but it's just it's a boring movie. It's a very boring movie. How do you make a fucking mob story so damn boring?
Yes.
And then the kid was fucking insufferable, and I feel like he added nothing to the gut.
Yeah. Yeah, that kid, like the thing was I was trying to look it up, I couldn't find anything about that. I'm sure he's
no.
in the strip. No, so I found out a different factoid about the actor who played the kid. Just some of his the actor's let's say political ties
Went on to be a
are
member of the Federalist Society.
yes, which is
A bunch of
interesting.
libertarians, basically.
I mean, yes, but just that fact was really weird because after he like did a little bit of child acting, he became a lawyer essentially.
Mhm.
And yes, it was weird because he did stuff in 1990, 1991, 1998, and then 2019, in which he was in Chained for Life.
Okay.
Is that a documentary?
No.
Shit.
Uh, is it Steve? Anyway, nonetheless, that the kid sucked. Basically,
The kid
um,
sucked.
yeah.
I felt like there were too many mobsters that got screen time, if I'm going to be honest, because most of them didn't really do anything and weren't interesting aside from the one big villain. And technically speaking, there was another big villain, but they had zero presence whatsoever. And then the big twist about who they were landed incredibly flat. And it felt like an easy way to get out of the whole oh man, Dick Tracy might have feelings for this femme fatale.
Oh yeah, for that I would definitely blame the 1980s because they really wanted that Star Wars, that they wanted this to be toyetic, and so they thought, well, there's this huge rogues gallery. Let's make action figures of this because kids are gonna want flat top action figures. That's what kids are gonna love.
Yeah, they need something that they can put those little tables that you get a pizza on.
Sell
Uh,
me some of those prune faces.
Also, to sort of change up a thing I say a lot about uh, anime, uh, a facial deformity does not a personality make.
Yes, actually, that is kind of problematic, actually, to think about it.
'Cause everyone is defined by this thing, and they're all just super evil. Like, basically, the ugly people are the villains, always, in this.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely wonderful, because all of them suck and none of them are interesting.
Yeah.
There's only one specific villain who's any fun on screen, but that's because he's constantly throwing fucking hissy fits.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Hmm?
No, I would just. Yeah.
Also, one of my favorite issues with the plot is constantly Dick Tracy like, I can't take them in, I don't have solid enough evidence, despite them very blatantly, like, flagrantly fucking ignoring the law and doing heinous shit to the point where they lock him in a basement and try to kill him with a boiler explosion. And then after that, he's like, I can't take him in yet, I don't have evidence.
You know, there was a weird thing going on there where it was a lot of telling and not showing, like you're describing right now. It's like, well, the crime that was in there was like, you know, Dick Tracy at his desk with a folder, and he would like shake a piece of paper every now and then, and it was like, this is not crime busting. Crime busting would be breaking down doors without a warrant, or shooting people like freaking Dirty Harry, or what they were doing in movies like The Untouchables, where they were putting pressure on people. And I checked out the Brian De Palma's Untouchables is like 3 years before this. So yeah, the problem is, you're right. There's this problem where the characters keep telling us why they can't do certain things or telling us why things are, instead of like showing us in a movie that obviously had production value. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, but I'm also saying, like, it's not just that it's we can't touch them, we can't do this. It's we have very clear evidence they tried to murder Dick Tracy to his face and said it to his face and even tried to bribe him, but then immediately after Dick's like, I can't take him in, I don't have enough evidence, which is like, what the fuck do you need then?
Well, they had 14 witnesses, or some bullshit like, oh, he was at a dance lesson. He had 14 witnesses. There's nothing we can do. Like, what?
Well, that kind of corruption would be interesting and it would justify the final act of the movie. But like you're describing right now, the movie is simultaneously in a rush to get everything done, but there's not enough in it. So there's not enough content in it. Like that kind of stuff they needed to linger on, or have like Dick Tracy versus. You could have easily had Warren Beatty's stone-faced lack of reaction with Big Boy Caprice, with Al Pacino chewing the scenery, and a good director and good writing could have made those scenes interesting and electrifying. But we don't have good direction and we don't have good writing.
Also, like, the actual final confrontation between the two of them is such a fucking wet fart, because it's this really kind of lackluster fight that culminates with Big Boy bumbling to his death.
I was gonna say, isn't it? Because doesn't it take place in a bell tower,
Yes.
like Batman did?
Yep.
It sucked, just like
Which,
Batman did.
man, the music in this movie, hot damn, fucking Batman.
It sucked slightly less than Batman because I believe they could actually fight, but this is damning with faint praise.
Yeah.
The movie literally just blares Danny Elfman immediately in your ears just so you understand where we're coming from here.
I like, the first thing I said is, oh, are we watching Batman? But
Yeah,
it was...
This is full Danny Elfman mode. This is when Danny Elfman became Danny Elfman.
part of it feels like a movie that doesn't have any confidence in its own premise.
It. Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. Also, there's the you know what? I'll mention that when we get into characters. Fuck it. I just
Like-
there's so many little things at this movie that just fucking add up to this boring, uninteresting pile of dog shit.
Okay, so I take it you're good for general impressions.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I didn't like this movie either. just just to get that out there. God, yeah, it just I could barely remember anything about this movie. It's like not even a movie to have on in the background. Like it's a thing because if you have it on the background, it might as well just be white noise because there's nothing really interesting about it that you could have it on the background and think that you have some random 80s cop show on in the background. Like it's just nothing happens. It's just completely like despite what the visuals tell you, like if you watch this and just well, not watch it. If you just listen to this movie and try to keep along that way, and somehow we're able to like keep an eye on like what they like if the aesthetic wasn't there, this would have been nothing. This movie might not have actually existed. Like it is the cotton candy of or it's like I'm trying to even think of like a less filling just like not garbage but less just it's there like it's celery it's it's technically a thing but also not a thing it I am like next week I'm not going to remember a single plot point in this movie except for maybe a couple but it's just yeah this movie just might as well not even have existed. It's just really boring. And man, I was gonna say, how long was this movie?
2 hours.
It's an hour and 40 minutes.
Was it really? I thought it was 2.
Nope, it felt like it was
Well,
two. That's the thing.
It's not that long, but it feels like it.
Logan,
Yeah.
please crack it open. I need confirmation of the runtime.
The according to IMDb, the runtime is 105 minutes.
God, it's an
So
hour 40. Why do I think it's 2 hours?
because it felt like it was 2 hours. That's why.
It felt longer than 2 hours.
Man, because especially because I was thinking of it because Al Pacino's in this movie. So I was thinking of other Al Pacino movies that are much better. And I was thinking of Heat. And Heat is a movie that's like 3 hours long, I think.
Yeah, Heat's pretty long. Well,
Heat's-
this movie has that exhausting thing where there's a lot. It feels like it's really long because a lot of stuff is happening in the movie, but it's all pointless and not interesting. So that's what makes the movie exhausting. Because if I had to recap the movie, it would take me a long time to recap everything that happened. They went here, they went there, they went back, they cut to this, they cut to that. And it sounds like but you're right. When you add it all up, it's like, wait, what happened? I can't remember. So yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I have the page for Heat up right now. Heat is 170 minutes long, so it's almost 3 hours long. But the thing about that movie is, it's kind of a slow burn, but things happen in that movie as compared to this.
Well, you also mentioned slow burn because there's a problem that I have with Burton in general, and this movie's imitating Burton, where they don't want to pause and let you notice anything. Like the garish colors and the production design overwhelms you because they keep flipping back and forth between scenes or going back and forth. They never just sit there and savor an environment or let characters play in an environmental space. It's all rapid cut and nobody shuts up. So that's part of what makes it exhausting. If this movie just took its time or bothered to set up some of its pieces, it would be a lot. It wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah.
I have to say one thing. I had it in my mind that this movie did not do well, but I am extremely wrong, apparently. It made back
Yeah.
3 times its budget.
Yeah, its budget, which was what, 47? Yeah, $47 million.
Yeah,
And
and I was prepared to, like, say, "Oh, well, it sounds like this movie was very expensive and it probably didn't make its money back." No, it was a hit, surprisingly.
I'm actually curious, what was the budget for the 89 Batman? It was 35 million.
Hmm.
So Dick Tracy was even more expensive than that. The thing in that movie, now that I think about it, wasn't that um that like that movie wasn't that technically like
Well, they
demanding, I
were
guess.
they were cutting corners and reusing stuff. Like some of the in the Batman movie, the Ajax factory is actually a reused set from Aliens.
Huh.
Whereas this in this Dick Tracy movie, I mean, I was going to talk about this production value. They not only have matte paintings, but there's that one scene where they have a car driving down the street and they pull away from the matte painting and they slide over to zoom in on the Club Ritz and another matte painting. This is
Yeah,
all pre-digital. It's all practical effects. That is one of the most expensive and difficult effects you could possibly pull off. And it's completely wasted in this movie because no one knows what the crummy heck they're looking at.
See, it's great because we were laughing our asses off at the very end with the bridge scene because they were very obviously against like a green screen type deal, and it was
Oh,
the
yeah.
funniest shit in the world because it looked awful for a movie that was so bent on its production values.
The world's most expensive and shitty looking green screen. It's amazing.
yeah, that was not very impressive. Um, so yeah, I kind of guess with that. Torpo, how'd you feel about the characters in this movie?
They sure existed, didn't they?
Yeah,
And there's only really a few that I'm gonna go over because there's only a few worth giving a fuck about.
yeah,
There's Dick Tracy, who has all the personality of a plank of wood, but damn, they want you to think he's the hottest, coolest shit there is, and they kind of sort of just rub that in repeatedly, despite him being an absolute nothing of a character who sucks at his job, even to the point where like they rip into him because he's constantly pulling in people who are known criminals to question them repeatedly, fucking up his case completely over and over.
yeah.
It's kind of amazing. Also, one of the worst lines in the movie that I still love is when fucking Dick Tracy is brushing his teeth and he offers, "Hey kid, it's peppermint." The kid just looks at him and goes, "You're into some real sissy shit, ain't you, Dick?" And the look he gives him is like, "What the fuck, kid?" It's it's bizarre. It's like it's this weird way of like trying to sort of humanize Dick Tracy in a way that feels utterly meaningless, as is most of what they attempt to do with him in this movie. Like there's how he supposedly cares a lot about his girlfriend, despite constantly kind of just neglecting her and treating her like crap, and then doesn't supposedly for a man who's like so head over heels for his girl, and into her, he doesn't even try the slightest to push away Breathless when she's like very blatantly flirting with him, practically rubbing her crotch in his face.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It
Yeah.
is the most pointless fucking subplot. Like it shouldn't happen. There's no reason for it to happen. There's zero chemistry between those two characters. Like there's none whatsoever. But it's like, oh man, is Dick gonna go with Breathless? Is he gonna give in to her feminine wiles? And it's so bad. And just going back, like there's the girlfriend thing, but also he's a giant fucking baby about that too. Can't even ask his girlfriend to fucking move in with him. And it's supposed to be like, this little character quirk or flaw, but it just kind of makes him come off as a jackass. Because he
It-
keeps doing it and keeps fucking up the exact same way and doesn't try to improve himself, it ever feels like.
It's like the thing of like I think the thing that they were trying to do there is that it's like, oh, it's the 1930s, so they're less, I guess I don't know exactly what the phrasing is, but like they're less like relationship progressive, I guess. That moving in with her would be scandalous or something like that. At least that's what I took. But then again, I could have just been very wrong. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about that.
And yeah, investigatively, he's just incredible at kicking himself in his own dick repeatedly. Because I said constantly pulling in people despite not needing to, or having very damning evidence and not using it and just going, I can't get him yet. And he's just the worst, just the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Then there's his girlfriend, Tess, who is way cooler than him
Uh-huh.
and gets along with the kid and just living her best life, I guess. And despite them trying to occasionally give hints that she's way cooler than she seems at first, Once again, in terms of the plot, she's not even there up until she's used as a threat and then kidnapped to be used as a threat again. And it's like, oh, okay, you're gonna toss that in the garbage. I mean, where it belongs, I guess, but I don't know. It's a character that could have been more, but they decided to just fucking leave and lie there on the ground to die. And then the kid fucking sucks. He's your typical kid in any movie. Just the really stereotypical kid who's just a kid, and is absolutely insufferable and just a giant goddamn prick every time, but everyone loves him. And literally the first thing he does is steal a watch, and Dick Tracy uh, chases him for what seems like hours across the entire city because the time of day changes, and all of a sudden he's somehow in the train yard by the end of it before Dick Tracy beats up his dad. Because that's the thing that happened. Wasn't actually his dad, but
Yeah.
Is that your old man? Get bent, or whatever the fuck he said.
it's pretty much what he said.
Up
And
yours,
so-
old man.
He an old guy. And then Dick just takes him in after beating up his dad. It's great. It's fucking ugh.
I mean, it worked for Terry Bogard and Rock Howard.
Also, it's really good because he saves Dick from the boiler explosion, and they give him an award and everything, but they still can't get fucking Big Boy.
Yeah,
Not enough.
yeah, they have enough to like honor someone with medal, but they can't, like what? I can't even think. I don't even care.
I
about
mean,
mentioning that
fucking
plot.
problem.
The problem is like it is shown that the district attorney is corrupt in a later scene, but like the problem is like no, we should have had Dick Tracy submits it and then the corruption overturns it. We should have seen that rather than it's just taken as a given. It's a movie. We should be seeing stuff.
Yeah, no, it made the ending where the whole final fight feel really forced, like really contrived. I don't know. And then that's all I gotta say about the kid. Fuck the kid. Hate him.
Yep.
But so then there's Big Boy, which is chewing the fucking scenery every scene he's goddamn in, and he's like the one thing I really enjoyed about this film, just because it was the only thing with any sort of personality. It's just fucking him getting incredibly fucking miffed every goddamn chance he got. And it was just so ridiculous and over the top. But he's played as this like he's supposed to be like this criminal mastermind, but it's all very basic shit that he does. And he gets taken for a ride repeatedly, very easily. Be it when Dick bugs the casino, and the only reason they find out is because the dipshit they had running the mic spilled some of his. I don't even know what was it. Was it
Coffee,
like
I think.
chocolate? I couldn't tell if it was hot chocolate or coffee. But regardless, he spilled his fucking drink, and that's the only reason they found him out. It's very obvious something was up. And then he gets taken for a ride by No Face or whatever the fuck the name was for it, the blank.
Yeah.
Very easily played. It was incredible. And as I said before, like his big plan was just basically collecting protection money. He was supposed to be. I don't know. He just landed super flat in terms of like actual plot stuff,
Yeah.
which is a shame because he could have been. They could have done more. And then there was the only other character I really give enough of a shit to talk about is Breathless, otherwise known as the Blank,
Yes.
which we only learned that name because of the fucking subtitles.
Yeah.
Breathless is Madonna playing a lounge singer who gets tossed between these two basically crime families. And it's really good because she's supposed to be like this femme fatale who's got it bad for Dick. And Dick is fucking stiff as shit every time she's on screen, and it's magical.
Yeah.
To the point where like at one point she's making the moves on him, going in for a kiss, and he's standing there stiff as a fucking board.
Yeah. Good work.
Yeah.
You did it. I'm gonna call Lolo out. Lolo just said Dick is stiff in the chat.
You're the one who said it.
I am. I didn't mean it like that, but it was inevitable, really.
Yes.
I'm glad we got this far before the first joke.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
mean to
made-
do it. It was an accident.
I made a joke instantly. What the fuck? Also, I guess there's not going to be a better point in time to point out that there was a line said that was 30 seconds, no more dick. 30 seconds, no more dick. 30 seconds, no more dick.
That's right. But it's just like Breathless is like putting in all the effort into this, and here's Dick Tracy just fucking deer in the headlights, doesn't know what to do, but just sits there and takes it, and yet somehow ends up conflicted anyway about his feelings for her, despite there being absolutely zero chemistry. There's none. There's none whatsoever between either of them. There's more between Tess and Dick, which there isn't much of, than there
Yeah.
is between these two.
Yeah. The only reason that she the whole seduction thing's there, it's because played by Madonna.
Yep.
Well, also it's probably part of the comic, but still.
And we had to have the femme fatale. It was a necessity, is it?
Yeah.
But it's just and then come to find out at the very end she played both sides so she could rule the city with Dick. And it's like, I don't care. You're such a non-person. Like it felt really messy and contrived, the entire reveal of Breathless being the blank.
Well,
It was just-
I would agree with you. Madonna's just not selling it. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, she was there, let's be real, she was there for the musical bits and to look nice.
Yep. She was there to put her name in the trailer.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's a weird thing where she didn't do the soundtrack because the soundtrack's Elfman. She released a companion album which is music inspired by Dick Tracy, but that also sold like crazy. So this movie made a lot of money.
Yeah. But yeah, my point is just the everything about Breathless feels super forced, and just every time she's on screen it's uncomfortable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I have to say about the characters.
All right. Stove.
Torpo honestly went through most of what I had to say. Basically, yeah. Dick Tracy, I was going to ask at some point, even though it was redundant because that would be the gag, is Dick Tracy a corrupt cop? And never mind, it's not even a question. He's fucking incompetent. Like,
Okay, so he's, yeah, as I say, it's not that he's like dirty, it's that he's big on police brutality.
Yeah, he's not corrupt. He just kind of sucks at his job.
at the at the beginning when
he's
they're like,
infamous for being brutal because like he used to make fun of that in the comic strips that like other people
Yeah.
would comment on how brutal he is, but the movie doesn't let him be brutal.
Because it's PG.
yeah, and like at the beginning, everybody in the police station pretty much is saying, now Tracy, you know you can't do that. That's illegal. You can't do that. Tracy, no, don't do that. Like, how do you? He's a very, it seems to be, famous detective, and he's known basically for, it seems like, doing a bunch of illegal shit to eventually get his man, which he doesn't even do until he doesn't do it at all, actually, because I think
No.
dude dies at the end.
Yeah, he died indirectly. Like, Big Boy died because he got fucked over by the black.
Like,
He just humbled to his death in a Disney villain death because it's fucking PG.
congratulations.
speaking of-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, speaking of weirdness, what was with the walnuts? There's like this whole sequence where the walnuts, we'll get fingerprints off the walnuts. Nope, no fingerprints on the walnuts. What's going on? Why didn't you waste your time?
Yeah, it was supposed to be this weird dead to rights thing for Big Boy, but then also Big Boy stops giving a shit about walnuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just again showing how Dick Tracy just like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go get him because the walnuts, and then surprise, there weren't. I don't know. Fucking Dick Tracy sucks. He probably doesn't even suck like that much in the comics. It is probably just more, you don't have enough time to get attached, and also they're not doing anything interesting with him because he just winds up having the on-screen charisma, as was said, of cardboard. And yeah, that's evident through a lot of his scenes with Madonna or Breathless, who I'm 99% sure she was put in the movie, if not to make a soundtrack, basically just because there's Madonna. Her whole thing is she wants to fuck. Oh, surprise! Breathless literally only wants to fuck. Like it's meant to be like, oh, she's just fallen in love with Dick Tracy for some ungodly reason. But no, it's basically just that she's horny the entire fucking movie. There is a point where um Tracy thinks that Tess is at the door and he just says, "Oh, what do you have?" And she just says, "I have fresh peaches. You need to eat them soon." Like, okay, so I have it written down here. Madonna comes in, wants Dick to eat her peach. Got it. Understood. Um,
Just once again, that entire time though, he is incredibly stiff. It's magical.
like every time she pulls out a double entendre, he's just standing there like he's waiting for a bus or something. Like he doesn't know what his next line is supposed to be. Um, so yeah, and also I should point out, this is kind of a personal thing on my end, is just I did not the only thing I knew about this movie, because I hadn't seen it before, was that Madonna played No Face. I was like, wait, what? But her name in the credits is Breathless, whatever, Mahoney. I'm like, "Wh- oh, it's a spoiler. I see. Not that it fucking matters, but I was like, oh, that's weird. Yeah, the kid sucks. I He looks kind of like Will from Stranger Things. That's probably just me, but he looks like one of the kids from Stranger Things, and he's also an insufferable jackass like the entire time. Who we're supposed to feel, sad for because he has no parents and he wants to be Dick Tracy Jr., which why the fuck would you want that? Um yeah, and I don't know. I guess I didn't pay too much attention to Tess, but yeah, I guess I could see that Tess does like have a little bit more in the way of like motivation than Dick Tracy does in terms of I just want this guy to like be in touch and say, "Hey, I can move in with you." And then at the end he doesn't even do that as well. So he actually accomplishes not really much in the long run except for he bumped off some mob guys.
Okay, so that's the best part about the ending is that yeah, he tries to say, "Hey, will you marry me?" Bungles it because he gets called in to the station and then just throws the ring at her and leaves.
You're one in a million.
Yeah. It's like what the fuck?
Uh and yeah, Big Boy Caprice is just Al Pacino just devouring the scenery, and he's he's kind of awesome. He's kind of really good in
So
that situation.
one thing I will say about that is that originally, like I think when he first started to do the acting for this movie, he actually did not want the credit that he was in this movie.
Oh,
He wanted to go by a different name, but he changed it for some reason, and I can see why. um,
because he's the
yeah,
best part of the movie, and also I wonder if he didn't think the movie would do good, and it
I
was
bet you that was it.
actually yeah, it was actually a fucking smash. Also, he does at some point say "you dumb dick," which is also just extremely good. Al Pacino is the best in this movie. Um, so yeah, he's about the only character I actually enjoyed because like everyone else is either one note or their personality is meant to be their face or the fact that someone can't talk and they're afraid of water, I guess. I
Yeah,
it Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
yeah. Also, I just pulled it up because I was curious. Basically, because I was wondering if, like, if Dick Tracy or not Dick Tracy, if Al Pacino was in something else big at the time. And the only other he had two movies that well, actually three movies in 1990. You had this, you had The Local Stigmatic, and you had The Godfather Part 3.
Yeah, I kind of wondered that.
Um,
It's like, oh yeah.
so he wasn't really in anything like I mean, The Godfather Part 3, but then again, that was a huge commercial. That's the one that's like not liked at all, right?
Yeah,
I'm not.
Oh,
it's a
nobody likes 3. They like it less than Dick Tracy.
it was a
Yep.
vehicle for Coppola's daughter or something like that.
Yeah, I think Sophia Coppola. Yeah. But yeah, because I was looking at what's the next big movie that I'd see. I'm not familiar with what Frankie and Johnny is, but I know Glengarry Glenn Ross is in '92, as well as Sin of a Woman, and Carlito's Way was '93. So it was a while before he had like a big hit from Scarface in 1983. Um, so yeah, uh, I, I don't know why he would have. Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing I do want to point out, just throw out there because I have it written down again, and I want to at least say it, even though it's real dumb. At the end of the movie, of course, Madonna's revealed to be the blank, and she. It happens after she gets shot, so here lies breathless. She did not get that dick. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right. Rafferty, you have any
Actually,
extra?
really quick. The best part about the breathless death is that she is saying, like, really just pouring out her emotions to Dick, and he's once again standing there stiff as a fucking board, not knowing what to do.
Just could we have been together? Whoa.
I just had to get that out of the way because every interaction with them is fucking awful.
A much better interjection than mine. Thank you, Torpo.
All right. Rafferty.
Well, so I'm gonna take a minority stance on this. There's one part of the movie that I think like showed off what this could be a great movie, and that's where they get the kid to go visit Dick Tracy in jail, and the kid asks Dick Tracy, "So how's the food?" And Dick kind of like nods and says, "It's good. How's the food in the orphanage?" And the kid nods and says, "It's good." And the reason why I'm pointing that is, okay, that's the movie. That should be the movie. You should have Dick Tracy, who's a tough guy who can't admit his feelings, hanging out with this kid, who's also a tough guy who can't admit their feelings. And the two of them should be blowing through this movie like indestructible juggernauts. It shouldn't be that Dick Tracy's climbing around outside a window trying to eavesdrop on guys or whatever, or trying to doing calculations from Seesaw. There should be these set pieces where he's freaking Dirty Harry, where all the criminals are afraid of him because bullets miss him, and he's an indestructible juggernaut like he was in the comics. Like, it doesn't matter that he's stiff as a board, because you've got Al Pacino and Flat Top and Pruneface and Dustin Hoffman. You've got all these weirdos. They should be foils, and he should be blowing through the movie like they're so afraid of him that they have to use his incorruptibility against him. Like, you should have a real actress instead of Madonna, who doesn't so much seduce him so much as she plays the victim and Dick Tracy believes her, and that's what makes it all fall apart. You could make a movie out of Dick Tracy being this stiff and impenetrable cipher, but they don't do that because they want to have some sexual chemistry between Beatty and Madonna that doesn't exist.
Yeah, she wraps herself around him like a scarf most of the time. That's like their every interaction.
Well, that doesn't bother me much, as Beatty should not be stammering or anything. He should be stone-faced Dick Tracy and just like no sell it and not care. He should be freaking Marv from Sin City or whatever. Oh, go ahead.
I do agree with you. That would work great. But part of the problem is they're constantly trying to like kind of humanize Dick Tracy, and it really bites into any attempt at that sort of thing.
Well, it's a mistake that these movies, and like it was my complaint about the Batman movies, where they keep like they keep trying to, no, we got to show Keaton as some sort of troubled man who needs help or whatever. Like, no, these are action movies, and it's already PG, so they're going to sugarcoat all the violence anyway. It's going to be over the top. We should be watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. We should go into a bar and do like what they do in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where we're going to fight on every surface and beat the crap out of somebody in every part of it. That's the other thing that annoyed me about that was Warren Beatty looked good when he was in the trench coat punching people. It was over the top, but the way they lit it and the way he moved, we could have just had sequences where he was fighting his way through gangsters, and that's why they were afraid of him. And that's what's just really frustrating me, is like I don't think there's something wrong with the characters. I think it's the the directing and the writing keeps wanting to frame us to have sympathy for them, or like everyone already mentioned, it's like, stop showing Dick Tracy being bad at his job. Show Dick Tracy being good at his job. Or show the criminals having well-founded fear or being afraid of him, and that's why they have to use corruption or these other chicaneries. That's why they want to frame him. Like show that, and so that's why I really think that I don't think there's something wrong with the characters in this movie. I think it's they're presenting it in that way that so much garbage in the late 80s and early 90s was presented. They don't want to let the characters be characters. They want to, oh no, we have to like Dick Tracy, or we have to identify with him. And really, no, Dick Tracy should be having a huge body count. He should be indestructible. This should have been like a hard-boiled type movie.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
That actually does remind me. Oh, you said is they're supposedly afraid of him, but they're only really during the beginning of the movie. First off, and second off, he never shows a reason for them to be afraid of him.
Yeah, in the comics, they're afraid of him because he just shows up and flat out murders people.
Yeah, no, it's just they just show him getting stonewalled by bureaucracy. But everyone's afraid of him up until they aren't, and they make a joke out of him.
Like, I guess if anything, they're afraid of him because he's overly aggressive about wanting to put them behind bars. But even then, it doesn't last that long because he can't get anything to stick because he kind of sucks.
I'm going to say something that's very painful for me to say. This movie would have been better if it was directed by Zack Snyder.
Yes, I will agree with that one.
Because he would have totally got it and understood it. And that makes me kind of sad to say that.
I hate the fact that he's the only director from my hometown, nonetheless.
But he would have understood the macho posturing, and he would have understood the high body count. That is what Dick Tracy is kind of infamous for. But it's also funny for us to be playing armchair quarterbacks because this movie made a buttload of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
What would have made this very successful movie better? I mean, yeah, there are actual answers to that question, but
I think it was really the window of time because Batman had just came out and people wanted more Batman. If this movie hadn't come out in 1990, it would have been a flop.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Also, the fact that it's Warren Beatty attached to it, also, I think, probably helped.
Well, there's big. I mean, Madonna is also a big name in the 90s.
And Madonna as well.
Right. I mean, it was that perfect storm where this movie was this hugely successful because of 1990. But it's also, this is such ephemera of 1990. No one remembers anything about this movie. Nobody quotes anything about this movie. The Mask would come along and be a much better version of this movie.
And this was my first time seeing the movie. I didn't even realize it existed up to this point.
Yeah, because this was a movie that I remember hearing about, but I never actually, did any. Like, I never watched it because I never really had a reason to.
Isn't it a Disney movie?
It is Touchstone. So yes,
yeah, Touchstone. So yeah, it's a Disney movie.
Yep. Which man, want to talk about the fucking struggle for the rights for this movie?
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot what that whole ordeal was. I just know that it was Warren Beatty. Was it Warren Beatty and I forgot who they had a thing with that he couldn't figure it out.
I forget what syndicate this is. I think this is Universal Syndicate, but don't hold me to that.
Well, I'd imagine it's whatever Disney is in. Yeah, I completely forgot.
And this movie, I mean, is part of a series because there was Batman, but then this Dick Tracy, Batman shows there's money in comics. So for some reason, there'll be Dick Tracy, the Phantom. Shadow's not really a comic book character, but the Shadow will come out. So there'll be a whole bunch of 90s stuff.
It was what?
Sorry, it was Tribune Media Services.
Okay, yeah, so it wasn't something Disney owned, but we could. Yeah. That's a whole nother story of how Disney said, okay, no more John Carter, no more Lone Ranger, let's just freaking buy Marvel and Star Wars.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So do you have any other thoughts on the characters?
No. What about you?
I didn't really have any other things to mention on the characters that we've talked about. The one thing I did want to talk about is, man, I feel bad for Dustin Hoffman in this movie. Oh God, why didn't they get Martin Short? Martin Short would be a good actor for that quality of character because he seems like the kind of actor that would be like in the other like he seems like that of actor that
Did
would
you
be.
guys see Rain Man?
Please don't talk
No,
to me about Rain Man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Dustin Hoffman's in Rain Man. It has not aged well.
no.
Weird.
I was gonna say, wasn't he also in the Mario Brothers movie?
Oh, Dustin Hoffman? No.
Or no, wait, who played Bowser in?
That's Dennis Hopper.
Okay,
I-
Dennis Hopper.
Okay, to be fair, I do also get those two mixed up as well.
Okay,
Dustin Hoffman was the substitute in The Simpsons from like the second season.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
from The Graduate.
I mean, the Graduate, Midnight Cowboy,
Sphere.
Tootsie.
Basically, that's just my barometer being a fucking 90s kid. That's all I got.
Yeah, he's slumming for a paycheck in this movie.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking at it, yeah, yeah.
But he became famous in Rain Man, which is a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. Let's not talk about that movie because it's not how that disease works.
Please, you don't want an angry Torpo.
Yeah.
I think he was fine as Mumbles. I just like the directing just doesn't make it clear why he's afraid of water.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know.
I mean, he did Mumble. Story checks out.
I mean, yeah, he did it, but it's just that I just thought that was
Like, if the movie were more self-aware, they should have said talk, and he should have spilled his guts, and then they should have cut to the stenographer who was there, who's sitting there like just hitting keys, and then she would like look up pain with a pained expression on her face and just shrug. I mean, that would have made it.
Wasn't there a joke that they did that?
Not in this movie. I mean, like the problem in this movie is if they were trying to play it for laughs, they totally fail.
Yeah.
This movie does not have a sense of humor. It's full of silly things, and there's no comic relief.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I guess I really don't have any other thoughts of the characters other than what people have said. So I think before we wrap up, I think we need to have a discussion on this. Rafferty, what are your thoughts on the look of this movie?
Yeah, once again, this movie pains me because I mean, this is production design porn. There are so many amazing matte painting shots that were all practical effects that don't look all that hot because I think they zoom in on it too much. You can see the painted lines. I'm not sure if they're going for stylistic, but the suits. I mean, honestly, I think Warren Beatty looks awesome in the yellow trench coat. I mean, I don't know anyone else who could pull that off. I think the building, the solid color, the 4-color palette, as you were talking about, the solid colors and that sort of thing, I think look wonderful, but they don't do anything with it. I mean, like I said, later you'll get a movie like The Mask, which has a lot of 1990s take on this sort of styling, but the city in The Mask looks lived in. And when Jim Carrey is like wearing the suit, he can pull it off a little bit. Even Batman, the environments, like because they shot them at different angles and they spent more time in certain places, looked lived in. This movie is just they had a lot of money and they threw it at the screen, but they don't know what to do with it. And I once again I would agree that like it feels exhausting. It's like all the big flat colors, but instead of actually people, they jump cut from one spot to another and it goes by so quickly that you never get a sense of place. The only thing I think that really worked was when they have the fight with the kid's ward or whatever. They never say it's his father, but when they have the fight and they're in the shanty and the shanty keeps rocking back and forth.
They basically say it outright. He's not his father. He's just some dude who keeps him there fucking.
Right. But when they have the fight there and the whole shanty is rocking back and forth, it's ridiculous and over the top, but it's hilarious. It's like they have the close up of the fight and they cut away. It's like the whole movie should have been like that. The bell tower, like you said, the bell tower looked incredibly fake and claustrophobic, and it shouldn't have looked like that. That's where we should have had the matte paintings. That's where we should have had people like climbing over trellises and that sort of thing. That's where we should have felt vertigo. And instead, all that money was spent in all the wrong scenes. So once again, this movie like infuriates me. It's like it could have been good and isn't.
Yeah. Okay. Stove.
Yeah, honestly, I do like the setting and aesthetic. Kind of as Rafferty said, like a lot of it is just kind of wasted potential. Well, some of it's wasted potential, really. And I was just kind of thinking of it like in terms of movies that have come out after it, like just to kind of give a style idea, like a Sin City or a Into the Spider Verse, where they can give off more of a feel of it being a comic. Which I don't know if that was like that kind of thing would have been on anyone's mind back in the 90s, but or late 80s, early 90s. But I feel like if we had this movie with that kind of we can make it a faux comic book type thing, it would add a bit to it. I just feel like kind of there were some instances in which the effects didn't really land. A lot of it, like including the green screen at the end, which just looked really, really bad. But I kind of like the multicolored suits for some reason. I dig that. We have yeah, Dick Tracy's yellow trench coat. I can't think of anybody that would be able to pull that off, really. Um
No, in fact, like one thing that I was thinking about was watching that is a lot of times when you do a big budget movie like this, you don't want to have the principals doing stunts because if they get injured, then you have to stop filming. I mean, that was a problem. Like Burt Reynolds famously got in a fight in his 1940s movie, City Slickers. But you're right; they all look so good. Like they could have just put any stuntman in a big yellow trench coat and filmed all kinds of ridiculous stuff, but that never happens.
yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, it just feels like I can feel something from the world that they're in, or I guess the facsimile of Chicago that they're in, but it's just like they don't really do enough with it somehow. Like they have all these good costumes, and even though I don't like the characters really, I do kind of dig the idea of just having these like gruesome characters here. It's just they don't really do anything with that. Like it could have been it just could have been a lot better, but I feel like if they would have had a sequel, they probably would have amped it up a little bit more. Who's to say if it would have been a better movie or not, but I feel like they could have like definitely jumped off of this movie into something a little bit more pleasing aesthetic wise.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Okay. Uh, you good on that?
Yep.
All right, Torpo.
I didn't like it.
Oh no.
Shocking. So my issue is like I appreciate attempts at using saturated color and all that. Like I'm fucking all for that shit. My problem is they don't do anything meaningful with their use of color. Like Rafferty's gone on about the practical effects and all that, and that is all impressive. But like the actual use of like color design and all that is completely ignored. It just looks like a fucking messy vomit of 4 colors. Fucking red, yellow, green, and blue. That's all you see throughout the entire movie, but none of them are used meaningfully. They don't try to use them to set a mood or sort of like code areas or whatever, like parts of the movie or whatever. Except for like the bit at the bridge at the very end, which is all red, but for all of like a minute. Otherwise, though, they do nothing like that. There's nothing.
Can I say something no one has ever said before?
What?
This Dick Tracy movie would be better if it was more like The Cook, The Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover.
I'll take your word for it.
I know you guys can take my, but you guys can go watch that next. And first of all, it's like, well, it's NC-17, but you'll look at it and go, oh, wait, each of the rooms uses a different color, primary color, and a different production design. And like that movie, like you watch that movie, you go, oh, that's what Dick Tracy would be like. Except of course for all the horrible. Okay.
It's just my point is though, it's just like they don't use it, meaning they don't use it to any real effect, and so it just looks like color vomit all the fucking time, and it's incredibly ugly to me. and it's deeply
Can we watch
frustrating.
the cook the thief is wiping her off right back?
I'm going to probably say I don't think there's a video game based on that movie.
There is not. It's a good movie and I recommend it. But no. Okay. I'll be quiet.
But yeah, so like from like purely an aesthetic and sort of like standpoint, I greatly dislike this movie, and it's frustrating how poorly they use color in that movie. It's
Yeah.
like they clearly wanted to use it. They wanted to say, "Hey, look at us, we're bright and vibrant," but also let's just kind of not give a shit.
Yeah. I will go ahead and say for my take, I like the idea of what they're trying to do. I do not like the execution of what they're trying to do. I like the super saturatedness. I do not like how it looks. And yeah, I do like the idea of super high saturation suits, though. Just someone wearing a blue ash suit. Um, and yeah, okay. I
Okay,
think
but Rafferty, that actually looks really good.
yeah. Rafferty has
In
shown
fact,
us.
I just looked at it. That movie came out a year before Dick Tracy, so they might have been influenced by it.
Huh. Yeah, I could. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. Um, but yeah, I think we've kind of discussed Dick Tracy enough. Um, so yep, we're gonna rank this using our normal 1 to 21 scale, with 1 being absolute mastercraft, 21 being absolute garbage, and like not even fun, ironically, to watch, just painful. Um, So I've done something actually that I haven't really done. I don't really do, which is write down what my score is beforehand, because I am curious about something. Uh, and because there has been times where we have had our discussions like this, where 90% of our time is bitching about the movie, and we still end up putting it high. I have already wrote down mine, and I'm curious what all of yours are. So Rafferty, what is your score?
Crap, where did I rate Batman?
It's a 14.
Batman's a 14.
Batman's a 14? Crap. I rated Batman too high. I gotta put this at a 13. I think it's has all the excesses of Batman, but is slightly better. I would rather watch this than Batman. I was less bored watching this movie than I was bored, and I was less angry watching this movie than I was angry at Batman.
All right. Stove.
This movie was boring. It didn't make any sense. It's kind of shitty. I say we put it at 6. No. Honestly, yeah, I'd go 13, 14. I'm also not necessarily the biggest fan of Batman 89. Honestly, though, I'm kind of the reverse, in which I would probably watch that over this again. But it would still be a while before I watch Batman. Uh so yeah, I would kind of go anywhere 13, 14, 15, really.
All right. Torpo.
Yeah. This is a tough one. Not just because like I'm not sure if I like it about as much or less than Batman. I don't care for either of these movies particularly much. Um, I will say I felt less bored watching Batman. That's not saying much though, because I kind of don't remember if I passed out or if I just stopped paying attention for a little bit.
I'm pretty sure you're passed out.
I think I passed out. So
Yeah.
regardless, I still would rather watch that over this. So 15.
So I undershot the hell out of all of you. I actually went for 1819.
Uh,
Because I feel like because I'm looking at the list and I'm trying to think what would I rather watch than this, and I'm just trying to think of like what did I actually watch that like trying to think of like oh there's like something to watch. And I'm thinking Salamander also had kind of an issue of that, but then there was more frequent things happening in Salamander.
Hmm.
But then also the Legend of Zelda cartoon, in which there's things happening. They're not necessarily great, but it's at least a fun, like, watch it with other people and shit on it kind of thing to watch. Because if I'm going to watch something I'm not going to particularly enjoy, I'd rather at least have fun with it. And I feel like with Zelda, I can have that. And then I was thinking maybe on the tier of like, because Super Mario Brothers OVA, the Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach, that also I felt had the same problems that this did, in that nothing happens in that movie or in that OVA. And it had the same level of just droning, like I barely paid attention to it. Um,
Well, that was like Roger Ebert's core theory was don't be boring. So
yeah,
if that's a core criteria, I can understand rating it that low.
because
Yeah.
because that's where I stand at least. So I guess
I
it's
mean,
fine.
like I would rate it higher because there's obvious production value. I mean, like I'm rating this high because there's obvious production value. It's on the screen, and I quoted this earlier off, which was Brandon Reese, a guy who does a lot of online comics, like talked about this movie as saying like this movie isn't here to impress me. It's not like he was complaining about like how Zombieland and some other movies are very aggressively made for the demographic, and I had to agree with him. There's something about this movie that it's Warren Beatty's movie. And even though it's got some terrible things to it, um, this movie wanted to be a Dick Tracy movie, and it wanted to be something very unique and to impress all of us. And it didn't have to do that. There are a lot of movies that this didn't feel as formulaic to me as a lot of other movies have felt like that had to tick off a lot of different boxes. There's just something about it that I mean, I would agree that it's got long stretches of boring, but it was to me it was a lot more interesting. I didn't feel offended or pandered to. So that's why I would rate it higher than that. But I could also understand like it's also not very interesting.
Yeah. Also, my thing is, I feel like if we've gone an hour and a half bitching about a movie, I feel like we should probably put it lower. But
No, I
uh,
feel it.
that's
I
at
can
least
By the
understand
boring
that.
logic, the most tedious movie we couldn't even talk about.
I was gonna say because I'm looking at because I was thinking like 20, like Panzer Dragoon was also something that was just tedious.
I mean, point of order here, we're not talking about Rain Man.
Oh, right, that. But I was more thinking of things that we've ranked so far. Also looking
Right.
at Rap of the Rapper, which was so boring we couldn't even finish it.
Oh well, that yeah. So no, I mean, I can understand that, but yeah, but
Yeah.
we have different tastes. We
Yeah,
all agree that we don't think this is a good movie.
right. It's definitely underneath that, and I can see where you put it at 13 just because that I feel that one's more anchored by Batman than really a number. I
Well,
take it.
I think this movie could be salvaged. Like I think like if they got a different director, or did a couple rewrites or edited some things, like I think like or you could edit this down to a 30-minute fun half hour.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Okay. Um, yeah, because I took kind of all of our scores together and I averaged them. And that puts it at 15, which is basically that's where Salamander is sitting. Which really, uh, if I were to like, I think that actually might be a good spot for it because this has a lot of problems that Salamander did, where it was something that its source material you could actually do something with, kind of, if you knew how to make it. Like in theory, I guess you could make a good anime out of Gradius and Salamander and all that, but that one just happened to not. Um, so I I feel like that would be a good that because I feel like basically me, Stove, and Torpo, we all kind of agree that we would rather watch Batman than this. Or is that kind of the general consensus I was getting?
This for me.
I
Yeah,
say yes, but only in the sense that I really wouldn't want to watch either of them. But Batman would just very slightly edge it out.
I would be more likely to if I had to pick these two movies, like if you like we have to watch Batman or Dick Tracy, I would put on Batman because I think people would enjoy it more because I think it hits more of uh the beats. There's just so
Yep.
much more that annoy I'm always going by action. Like these are both of these movies are supposed to be action movies, and Dick Tracy edges out Batman because it has more action in it.
Yeah. Um, but yeah. So I'm thinking generally, at least from the general consensus, I'm thinking that our like if you kind of pulled ours together and kind of tried to average it out, that I feel that we are either on the same level as Batman or just a tier below it.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I mean, the numeric scales I think are a little bit different. I could see why you would like one more than the other. So 15 sounds about right.
Yeah. I think 15 is a pretty good spot for this. Also, I like to say that just from a personal point of view, uh, I resisted the urge to say, why don't we put it in 16? Because we don't have anything in 16. I just wanted to point that out.
We don't have
I-
anything in 13 either.
We don't, but I don't feel like it's going above that. Um, but yes, I feel that 15 is a very good spot for this. Which man, that is putting a line at like 16, whatever that is, because that I feel if generally what we have below 15, that is a quality drop.
Well, remember that you're cherry picking a lot of these movies because I think your movie choices I think are inspired by it had to have a video game adaptation, right?
Well, yeah, that's the general. That's what the point of that media delta is because it's a sister show to Retro and Rhapsody, which is stuff we've ranked during Retro and Rhapsody.
Right. So I would suggest that in order for something to have a video game adaptation, it would have to have some sort of cultural cachet in the first place. So you're probably not going to see any horrible stuff until we review Cool World. Did we review Cool World yet?
No, we have not, and yes,
Okay,
there is
well,
definitely a game about that.
There's more than one Cool World video game.
I mean,
I'm
yes.
surprised to find out. So there, we'll get you your 16.
Get your 16, and then maybe I could, man. That movie is more of a thing for me because that being a Ralph Bakshi movie and the fact that I kind of have a weird fascination with Ralph Bakshi. That.
Fuck's sake, I completely forgot that it's a Ralph Bakshi movie.
Yeah.
We just watched Dick Tracy, which is where we could see they spent a lot of money on production design, but the movie let it down. When we go watch Cool World, you're gonna see a movie where they had no money for you. You might cry for the production designers. They have no money. The production designers are trying so hard, and the movie is letting them down in so many ways. It is a tragedy.
Who is it that played the guy in Cool World? Is it Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt and Gabriel Byrne and Kim Basinger are the leads.
Kim Basinger was the lady. Okay.
Hollywood.
Nonetheless, is there anything we want to call out in music, charm, cinematography, storytelling, action, and art?
You know, I hated the music. This right here was Danny Elfman is okay. I did Batman, and now I'm going to do Batman Forever. I hated the music of this one, but
he didn't do Batman Forever.
Well, no, I mean, sorry, I meant like, as in you know what I mean. Like in other words, like, oh my god, that music I did for 1989's Batman. Okay, that's it. That's all I ever do from now on for everything ever.
Yep.
Man. Do we have something from Missed Opportunity?
Yes, we do.
Because I would be putting Missed Opportunity in art and charm because it just looked like it big blockbuster movies like this frustrate me because they have the money. It's like when I watch a movie that doesn't have the money to do what they want and they have to cut corners, I'm sympathetic to that. When we have a tentpole movie like this that has the backing of Disney and they can do anything, when they don't do it right, that frustrates me way more.
I could definitely see that. Because like they have like the seeds of an idea for trying to make it look like a comic book. But they don't do it really well. So I can definitely see putting wasted potential for both art and charm.
Like, what's the name of that bodysuit that makes you all one color? Like the Green Man suit or whatever. Like when you put on a body stocking and it makes your body all one color.
I don't know if that actually has a name. Like
Okay,
I'm sure it does.
But
Yeah.
it's Japanese name. I mean, they could have just put a black body stocking and a yellow trench coat on a stuntman and had him punch 20 people, and for like 1 minute or 5 minutes in this movie, and it would have been so like that was a huge no-brainer. They could have just stuck that in the movie. It would look cheesy as all hell, but we'd all clap, especially if we're 8-year-olds. And they didn't even do that. It's like the simplest thing, and they didn't even do that.
Yeah.
I will say the only fucking shootout in the movie was very one-sided, and just involved 2 cars getting shot up, and that's about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe also put a like whiff for action too, because it didn't land for sure.
Also,
well, I was gonna say it's got that weird thing where they have things that are supposed to be action sequences, like him climbing on the outside of the building, but they don't make any sense.
Um, I do want to say that in this movie, it is very interesting, and I wonder if it is an intentional thing. That there is a lot of scenes in this movie of Warren Beatty taking a Thompson and shooting the hell out of various cars, considering what other movie that he was in that was big, which may have involved him getting shot the hell up with a Thompson machine gun in a car.
Well, it looks good, but I'm going to repeat that like a contemporary movie with this is Miller's Crossing, and if you watch Miller's Crossing, it has action sequences in it with Tommy guns that look good, whereas this movie just seemed like all of you said, it just seems to have a Tommy gun sequence in it. It should look good, but we don't know why it's happening. We don't know where anyone is or whether they're shooting up the car, and it doesn't seem to forward the narrative. That's why this movie feels hollow. It's all of these set pieces that have no reason to exist, and that's why we don't remember them or don't like them.
Oh damn, it's a Coen Brothers movie.
Yep. So yeah, that I could definitely also put in. Anything else other than so anything in like cinematography or storytelling is just kind of I'm just gonna leave that one blank because I don't think
Yeah.
that one doesn't need a story.
I think we're all disappointed all the way around. It was like this.
Yeah.
We don't understand. I think we're all scratching our heads going, this should have been better. Why wasn't this
Yeah.
better?
Also, I would like to say that 15 actually looking at the description of how my rank guide is, 15 is a bit of a sour taste. For the most part, fine, but it's got notable undertones of something bad, which I feel is a good way to describe this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, let's see. Oops, crap. Let's see.
There are
Trump
scenes in this
got-
movie that I like, but they're few and far between.
So, I'm going to go ahead and go into yays and nays. And one nay that I think that we immediately have to put in pacing is bad.
Oh yeah.
Bad pacing.
I'm trying to look. Let's see. Bad pacing. None of these are really calling like none of this really like other than maybe very boring.
Dude,
Maybe-
can we say bad writing?
Um,
I mean, like we all agreed. The only time they never show Dick Tracy being good at his job. There's no lines that we can quote to remember, and there's some scenes that like just seem incoherent or don't make any sense. That's all issues with writing.
yeah, I think actually in that case, I'm gonna put thumbs down in the storytelling department then, or in the storytelling column,
Okay, I could see that. Yeah.
Yep.
because really none of the other things are that great. So, any other thing that we can think of?
Yeah. Oh, does this technically get a content warning for yikes?
I was thinking that.
What would be the yikes in this movie?
Just the fact that everyone who's bad is deformed in some way.
Also, kind of don't like
That's
mumbles.
not true. There's two people.
Oh
in
yeah,
the movie who are-
also mumbles, yes.
Well, there's two people in the movie who are bad who are not deformed in any way. There's Madonna and there's a district attorney.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's like on the edge, maybe. Like that, like I'm sure some people might take offense to that, but I don't feel like it's as bad as and I feel
Well-
like the deformity thing is more of a trying to nod to the art style of the comic than trying to say anything about like a specific like flat-headedness is not really a thing that exists.
Well, and also there is some cartoonish exaggeration because not Dick Ketchum. What is it name? Hank Ketchum. Sorry, his partner Ketchum is in the
Ketchum.
movie. Yeah, with the big bow tie and the exaggerated cheeks. But they left out some of the more colorful characters from the comic who are like have exaggeration. So they left those guys out. For the most part, when the policemen show up. I mean, the reason why I'm coming at yikes is like this is not Batman yikes. From the Batman movies, they always make a point of saying, "Oh yeah, all the criminals are mentally deranged," and like they didn't do any of that in this movie. All the criminals in this movie are just bad people
Yeah,
who just happen to look weird.
yeah. So I think we could leave yikes out for this
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
because at that point, I mean, as much as I like the yikes should probably like at that point, then the yikes has to mean something. because then it's just like, okay, what level, unless we start getting a Yikes and Yikes Plus. But I don't
Yeah,
think we're quite that level yet.
I think the movie's over the top enough for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I feel like that it's just over the top, that it's kind of teetering on it, but doesn't quite fall on it. Um, so
I
yeah,
think Mumbles is just badly directed. That should have been a Boomhauer joke, and instead, we just were scratching our heads.
yeah. I guess with that, there's not really anything else that I can think of. Um,
No,
and,
that's
and I
about
think
it. A disappointing movie with some disappointing video games. So, what did you guys think of the Dick
Uh,
Tracy game?
so the Dick Tracy, like the Genesis game, I remember it was like it's a Rolling Thunder clone. But it's yeah, we have it at 8. The NES game I know was bad. But the Genesis one is actually pretty good. Also, it's great because I was reading up on the video games during watching the movie, and I'm gonna try and see if I can find the line that I saw that was like, "Oh, huh." Let's see if I go Dick Tracy and if I go to video games. Dick Tracy, is there not licensed products? Maybe. Um, oh yeah, the film. The film has the video game line. Let's see. Think does it? There was something that basically um games based on it that apparently the DOS version has a waterboarding mini game in it.
Huh.
I didn't know there was a DOS Dick Tracy game.
Yeah,
You do.
I could not find any footage of that, but that's what Wikipedia was saying.
Well, there's some on YouTube. Well, there's a
I-
Amiga version of the game too.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's probably the computer version of the game.
Oh,
but yeah.
it's Titus.
Oh yeah, it's Titus. It's not good, but nonetheless, the Genesis one's probably the only one that you were playing. But yes, I think that will do it for Dick Tracy. So, before we leave, Rafferty, is there anything you want to plug?
Well, I do want to thank folks who backed our Iron Claw Kickstarter that we just had. So we're doing production on more Iron Claw tabletop role playing game stuff. So we got a couple of things in the queue. So thanks everybody for support. Just stay posted at sanguinegames.com, which is where we talk about all our stuff.
All right, Stove.
Twitch.tv/portable stove. I've honestly not been as active as I was before. This is we're still in 2020. Everything still kind of sucks, but yeah, eventually I'll be playing some video games on there. Maybe I'll play Dick Tracy at some point. Who knows?
Yeah. Turbo.
Twitch.tv/torpidtypist and at torpidtypist on Twitter. And I would just I have no energy right now. I can't.
I'm gonna
can't
plug
talk
all the
about-
mugs out there on the streets.
Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
What you said, what the stove said, is my joke now.
Yeah.
I will take it and consume it and make it my own.
Copyright 2020 Torpid Typist.
Yeah. All right. So yes, that was Dick Tracy. Next week we are actually returning to what we covered the week prior, and that is we're going to be finishing up our look at the first half of Space Cobra. So we're going to be finishing up the Three Sisters arc that we started last time, and then going on to another arc, which kind of in itself is a wrap up of the Three Sisters arc. So that'll be enjoyable because then we'll actually get to rank Space Cobra, which will hopefully rank higher than Dick Tracy did. But nonetheless, with that, thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a good afternoon, night, morning, whatever you're listening to this. If you would like to look at the full list of rankings for yourself, please visit r3.ldp.life and go to the Media Delta List tab. If you would like to watch Media Delta's sister show, Retro Rank Rhapsody, you can either watch at youtube.ldp.life or by tuning into twitch.tv/LoadedPuzzlo at 7:30 p.m. on Fridays, 2:30 p.m. on Saturdays, and 1 p.m. on Sundays. All those times are from the Eastern US time zone. If you would like to discuss this episode with the community, you can do so by joining our Discord server, which you can do so by going to discord.ldp.life. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you tune in for our next episode.